Welcome to the journey where we talk to parents of athletes on how they got their kids to where they are. I'm here with Mr. and Miss Wenzel. So both of y'all's kids play high-level college basketball. That's an amazing accomplishment. First things first, when did y'all fall in love with basketball?
For me, it was middle school. I was transitioning from moving from Wisconsin to Texas and then moving in with my grandparents. So it was something that kept my mind busy and just something that I could focus on with all the chaos.
For me, I just always hooped. That's all I did. That's all I knew how to do. I grew up kind of with my parents. I had brothers and sisters that were older, but they didn't play. So I just learned to love it by hooping with all my friends at the side parks and things like that. After school, we would play until it got dark and then go home. That's all we did every day. So that's just what it was.
Tell me more about yourself and your kids.
We're competitive. We have high expectations. We believe in working hard, being gritty, bouncing back, and just living your life right so that good things come to you.
Yep, just work. That's all we do, you know. She works, she's a teacher, she works all day. I work all day, and that's what we expect from them. Put in the work and it'll pay you back. And that's kind of how it's how it's always been. It's kind of worked. I think it worked a little bit. Still a work in progress, but it's working.
So what did it look like for your kids in elementary school, like sports and grades and all that stuff?
In order for them to have the sports, they had to maintain their grades. They had to maintain being a good student. That was the first thing we would threaten to take away, just because that's what they enjoyed. But it was just the way it is now. You're expected to work hard, expected to handle your business, to get what you have coming to you.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, there was always accountability with that, and it was the easiest thing to take away because that's what they loved to do. You know, you had to have your grades, and they always did pretty good in school. They never had any issues. We never had failing grades. You know, did they have C's a couple times and things like that? Sure, but I don't think it wasn't about perfection, but it was about doing your job and not, you know, in order to have the things that you have, you had to produce the results of going to school every day, clocking in for that. And then, you know, middle school or elementary school, there wasn't no elementary school, you know, we trained. It wasn't really playing. All we did was train. So it was that and grades.
And it was
work.
And it was practicing like 2 times a week, and then like your games for Brendan. But with Carleigh, she joined Finest as a 4th grader, and so that was your Wednesdays and Sundays, and then your tournaments on the weekends, playing up, not winning, playing basketball the right way, just learning to play the right way, failing early so that you could win later.
So everyone talked about trusting the process. What did it look like starting out the process for your kids?
I don't know that we knew what the process was in the beginning. Because they were young, and you know, for she played more organized hoops than I did. I didn't really have organized hoops. I didn't have really AAU. So I didn't even know what the process was. The process was whatever we figured it out to be. So for us, it was more, you know, we knew what hard work looked like. We knew what some of the people around us were doing, but we didn't know what it was. So we just would do the best we could and, you know, work hard at what we knew. And it developed over time. It became what it became. But in the beginning, I mean, the process was get up, go to school, come home, and we'll do some workout, whether it's a finest practice with Ray or whether it was, you know, with Brendan, it was more me and him.
But it was even before finest. It was when you were a baby, when your dad walked up with when Brendan and Shaden were on the Cowboys football team, and you and King were like toddlers. It was football for Brendan before basketball, and it was leaving elementary school, grabbing a snack, going to football practice, or even during the summer before school even started, like having those practices, pouring water on the boys whenever they were playing outside in the heat. But it was just surrounding yourself with people who had similar aspirations and similar beliefs. And so with your family, with the Bowens, and kind of starting there, and then just leveling up year after year.
Would you consider yourselves helicopter parents?
Absolutely. 100%.
I say no, because helicopter parents to me implies that like a negative effect. To me, I feel like it's more like being present in their lives, guiding them through the ups and the downs. And so I'm a teacher. I see helicopter parents, and to me, helicopter parents lack accountability and transparency and realistic expectations. And so I say no as far as helicopter parent, but at the same time, we've been in situations where I'd prefer to say something before my kids say something because it was their reputation. And so if I had to be that helicopter parent to say something and be outspoken to other adults that didn't have any business chiming in on our kids, then I felt it was my responsibility because I didn't want them to have a mouth on them and be disrespectful to adults.
Is there any specific examples that you could talk about for that?
Sure. There were times in high school or middle school, people who claimed to be in the basketball world in San Antonio, claimed to be there for kids, would be outspoken on social media. And it was being outspoken in a negative and disrespectful way. And it was being outspoken towards like my kids or other kids when they didn't know the process that our kids were going through. And so to me, it's if you don't train the kids, if you're not in practices with the kids, you don't get to have an opinion about their game. You don't know what they're working on. You don't know what their aspirations are. You don't know what the accountability has been. So you don't have that right to form an opinion out loud about the kids or publicly about the kids. And I feel that way for, it's the teacher in me a little bit. You take care of kids, you inspire kids, you motivate kids, you encourage kids. There should be no adults trying to break kids down when you don't know them on a personal level.
Were your kids naturally good when they started, or was it a process?
It's a process. I mean, I think it's a process. I mean, I know our kids were never naturally anything. They had to really work. And I think there was some of what she was just speaking on. There was a lot of people that had their opinions about that, about where they thought our kids, and specifically, should be or would be, or what they would end up being at, because they weren't that in the beginning. And they had to work to get to where they are. But a lot of people thought that they had opinions about it, you know, and I don't think it's not directed just at our kids. I think that's the environment. That's San Antonio, that's anywhere. I mean, people are gonna have their opinions, I guess, about others. And maybe some are right to a certain extent, but you don't know, like she said, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're working on. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know those things. And a lot of the outside stuff plays a big part in your development, plays a big part in everything. But the kids had to really work to get to where they're at. And they still have a lot of work to do, but they weren't naturally that.
Did you start them in sports with any specific goals in mind?
No.
I don't think so. I think for me, it was more like keeping them busy. Because if you're busy, you get in less trouble, in my opinion. So let's always keep you busy. Now, it burdened us with that as well, though, because in order at a younger age to stay busy, I got to make sure that they're there. You know what I mean? So I don't think in the beginning, I don't think there was an end in mind or a goal set. But as it progressed, and you could see what the goals could probably be, then it kind of switches. You know, it kind of switches in the middle of it all. But in the beginning, I don't think there was.
It was just to participate and enjoy sports the way like we've enjoyed sports.
Enjoy it and let it teach you lessons too, because it's going to cause you to struggle too, and you got to struggle a little bit. Like you're going to struggle. The quicker you can struggle, the better. You know.
How often do your kids train?
Beginning? You talking about in
In
general?
elementary school.
Elementary school. I don't know. I don't know that elementary school was a lot of training. I mean, it was their whatever they were doing at the time, their little practices with their teams or whatever. But in addition to that, I mean, yeah, there was training involved, but it wasn't really training. It was more like that's just what we're doing now, so let's go do a little extra.
Let's go to the park.
Was going to a park and throwing footballs and running routes just for fun. It wasn't like we need to go work on a specific skill. And for Carleigh, I mean, it was going to driveway and dribble and pass the ball and throw a football and catch the ball and things like that. But it wasn't, I don't know if you consider that training. Did I think it was training? Sure, but we didn't treat it like that. It was just
Practice.
That's just what we did. We're kind of junkies. So it's kind of like, that's just what it was.
Did you force them to play?
I don't think so. We were introduced into sports. I don't think it was forced.
No.
Now, once we got knee deep in it later on, yeah, well, that's a different story. But it wasn't forced to do anything. I tried to force them to quit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, there were a few of those talks.
well, nah, they weren't forced to play. They loved to play.
Were there any promises made by any outsiders that weren't kept?
No.
I didn't deal with anybody like that, so I don't have that.
Yeah.
Early on, did you care about winning and losing?
No.
Yes.
I mean, it depends. Compared to
Absolutely.
your family
No.
in our house, do we talk a lot of trash? Do we care like that? Yes.
No, we did. No, we cared.
Yeah, but
We're
on the-
just
no, I'm saying
from
on
the
big
competitive
stage, like on the
spirit.
big stage,
Yeah.
Like, did we care about winning
No.
or losing? No. But do we care in our house? Absolutely, 100%.
If you could tell the parents of elementary school students one thing, what would it be?
Start in elementary school with whatever sport that they feel that they want to play later on in life. I think if you try and start something in middle school, you're already behind. So I think starting in elementary school, finding out what it is whatever extracurricular activity is that they want to do, start exposing them in elementary school. I think that's super important.
And I would say be committed to it. Be committed to your kid. Like help your kid. Like spend the time to help your kid and whatever it is that they're wanting to do. Commit to it for them. They can't do it by themselves, especially at that age.
Thank you for watching the journey. Stay tuned for the next episode where we're talking about middle school.